Okay, so I cannot tell you that this is gonna be the most interesting video, but I have gotten so many questions from people about the constitutional amendments on the November ballot, and I wanted to take a couple minutes, walk through pros, cons, make them easier for you to understand so you can figure out how you're gonna vote. So the First Amendment is changing language in the Constitution from every citizen can vote to only a citizen can vote. Now, practically speaking, it's inconsequential because most people would say only citizens can vote anyway under federal law. But the proponents of this want to make sure that it's very clear only citizens can vote. That's number one. Number two, the Second Amendment is $15 minimum wage in Florida by 2026. Now, this has big consequences because our current minimum wage is $8 and something. So it will be a big increase in the minimum wage. And the proponents of it say that people deserve to be making more, making a living wage, and that they're going to make more money and they're going to be less dependent on welfare and they're going to spend that money. But the opponents say that businesses are going to be hurt by this requirement and they're going to have to lay people off and cut hours and increase their prices for consumers, and so it's not all roses and happy things. So that's Amendment 2. The Third Amendment, I think, is the most complicated. It basically means you have to understand the current primary system in Florida, which means that we have a closed primary, so only Republicans can vote in the Republican primary and only Democrats can vote in the Democratic primary. And that means that the winner of each of those, the Republican and Democrat, face off in November when everyone can vote. What this would do is create a top two primary system. So everyone would be able to vote in August for any candidate. Republicans, Democrats, Independents can all vote. And the top two vote getters go on to the general election to head battle one-on-one. And what that means is that you could end up with two Democrats or two Republicans in November. But the proponents of this say this will actually decrease polarization that we've seen, because in those primaries, when now everyone can vote, including independents who generally lean more to the center, those candidates will have to appeal to everyone instead of just their party. Whereas the opponents say that this kind of weakens the two-party system that we've had in this country for so many years, and you could have a situation where you end up with two Republicans or two Democrats in the general election, which many people do not want. Amendment 4 would require any constitutional amendment like this one to pass twice. So this constitutional amendment would have to pass in 2020 and then again in 2022 in order to become law. The proponents of this say that the Constitution is a sacred document and foundational, and we have to make sure that it's not changed easily. And the opponents say, well, requiring 60% vote in one election is enough. That's not an easy thing to do, and you'll see probably some of these amendments are going to fail. And if you require 2 election cycles, that means requiring at least 2 years before something can pass and make a potential important change. The Fifth Amendment will affect many of you in your lifetime. It is essentially when you have a homestead on your house, so your property taxes are capped if you have a homestead, and you move to another house, you will now have 3 years instead of 2 years to transfer over that homestead exemption. So you can retain some of the benefit in terms of your limited property taxes when you move, and you have 3 years to transfer that over and not lose it instead of 2 years. So it gives you a little more flexibility there. The opponents say that taxes should not be limited in the Constitution since it's so hard to change, and you could just make that a bill and make that law instead of having it be in the Constitution. And number 6, also opponents say the same thing because it's also tax related, but it says that veterans who have special exemptions or benefits depending if they're disabled, different reasons for their homestead, their property taxes, so that if they pass away, their spouse can actually retain those benefits until the spouse remarries or moves or things like that. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to put links to the League of Women Voters, which leans more liberal, and the Tax Watch, which leans more conservative, in the comments below, so you can check out kind of how they analyze and feel about all the issues, and definitely reach out if you have questions, and please vote. 50% of Florida is going to vote by mail or early this year, so you can vote from your house, or you can go for 2 full weeks, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Across your county to vote. So please let me know if you have questions, and good luck voting.